In the offseason leading up to the 2023 season, the Padres are basically just desperate to sign someone on the free agent market. They were willing to go above and beyond, seemingly just so they can get someone, even if it didn't make the most logical sense in the long run. They offered both Aaron Judge and Trey Turner more money than the Yankees and Phillies offered, yet they ended up going to those teams instead. And that's when the team said screw it, throwing $280 million at Xander Bogaerts to be their new shortstop, stealing him away from the Red Sox, an organization he'd been on his entire career, his entire life. That's all he knew in baseball. It was an offer that was obviously just too good to pass up on, and not only did they offer Xander almost $300 million, but the contract was for 11 years. Immediately, it didn't seem like the smartest deal to make, and it was a very obvious overpay. They went above and beyond just to sign someone, to sign a big free agent, and that someone ended up being Xander Bogaerts, a 30-year-old shortstop who had never been great defensively at the position, but hey, they got their big free agent, now we ride. Unfortunately, 2023 ended up being a crappy season all around for everyone. Xander specifically started off really hot, having a great first month of the season, but then really fell off. In the next 4 months, in his next 100 games from the beginning of May through the end of August, Xander was just a bad hitter, not doing much of anything at the plate. He finished off with an incredible month of September, though. I mean, he went nuts, hitting over 400, his on-base percentage was great, his OPS was well over 1100, he killed it out there. So that's of course good to see Xander finishing off strong like that in a season that ended up being a really bad 4 months sandwiched in between 2 great months to start and finish. But I think everyone can collectively agree that the Xander Bogaerts Padres contract is just not very ideal. 11 years is insane, and he's going to be 41 when the deal ends. Again, Xander was never a great defender at shortstop anyway, no matter how young he's ever been. So the thought of having him into his late 30s and even into his 40s is scary. Is he just going to be a DH at some point? And will his hitting age well enough to the point where he'll still be valuable despite just hitting and not playing any defense? I guess time will tell on all of that, but in the time we've seen this contract play out, the short time, just 1 year, it's not looking good. In fact, it just got even worse. Spring training is here, which by the way means baseball is back and things are getting more exciting, so if you haven't yet, subscribe to what we got going on here and hit that button for notifications to stay aware of everything going on. Thank you. So Padres spring training has begun, Xander Bogaerts has arrived to camp, and there's already bad news. Well, it's not necessarily bad news on the surface. If you just heard the news by itself without any context, you'd maybe not think much of it, or you would, I don't know. But it's not like anyone is hurt or anything. Xander is fine health-wise. It's just that the team is now feeling like they have to make a position change in the infield, one that makes the contract look even worse than it already did. The Padres are moving Xander Bogaerts to second base, a position he's never played at in his entire career. Not that I'm saying he won't be able to play the position. I think he can, at least decently. I'm not saying him never playing second base is scary. Xander never playing second base in his career is because of the fact that he's been a shortstop his entire career. That's been his thing. You gave him $280 million and committed to him for over a decade to be your shortstop. But now just 1 year into the contract, you're already saying he's no longer the shortstop. Typically, if you sign a shortstop or a position player to almost $300 million, I think the bare minimum is to expect that player to be your shortstop or whatever position they were signed as for a long time. That's the whole point of signing any player, right? To play the position they've always been. Not necessarily because they're the best defensively at it, but telling that player that he's no longer at that position just 1 year after giving him a massive contract is worrisome. And it's as if the Padres are admitting defeat here. The move on its own without any context with the money or years or stardom makes sense, actually. The man they are moving to be their full-time shortstop now, Ha-Seong Kim, is terrific defensively. Like, he's elite. So it would almost be dumb for the Padres to not make him their shortstop. The point is the fact that the Xander contract was reckless to begin with, and we're already seeing the big negatives and consequences that will come with it. Xander was just told about the switch right before the Padres had their first full team workout of spring training, and he immediately accepted the change. When talking to the media about it, you can tell he's not necessarily ecstatic about it. You can tell he'd love to continue playing shortstop and be great there, with him actually saying that he would have liked for the team to tell him he was changing positions earlier in the offseason rather than now, so he could have started taking grounders there and working on it. Other than that, though, Xander, again, although not necessarily through the roof on the news, is fully on board with the decision, and that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Xander has never been a problematic person, ever. Not throughout all his years in Boston, and that hasn't changed since coming to San Diego. Clearly, with the way he's handling this. He said if this is the way the team views the best chances of going about winning, he's okay with it. He wants to win a championship, mentioning the respect he has for Kim, especially defensively, but also just as an all-around player. I think Xander understands there was always a good chance he wasn't going to be a shortstop forever, that eventually he would switch, even saying that they might as well get on with it now if it was going to happen in 2 or 3 years down the line anyway. So he's handling it really well, which again shouldn't surprise anyone. Xander isn't a toxic or negative person at all. He's never been. But what this does show is just how bad this contract really is, how much they really did overpay for him. Something we all knew the moment it happened. I mean, 11 years and $280 million for a 30-year-old shortstop who had never been a great shortstop defensively immediately didn't seem smart. He didn't hit well for the most part of last season, his first in a Padres uniform, and now you're already moving him off the position that you signed him to and giving him all that money in 11-year commitment. Not great. Hopefully it works out, and I think it should, at least for now, but we got 10 more years of this thing. Do we even know Xander will be a good defender at second or anywhere? Will he really end up just being a very expensive designated hitter? Like I said, only time will tell on all of that, but with what we have right in front of us, this Xander Bogaerts contract looks like a disaster in the making. It looked like it a year ago, and even more so now with this news. You just can't deny it. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.